Jacaerys Velaryon is, without a doubt, one of the characters who lost the most in House of the Dragon's adaptation. If you've only watched the show, you probably see him as a much more reserved figure, mainly serving as Rhaenyra's eldest son and the future heir to the Blacks. But the truth is, Fire and Blood presents a completely different Jace, proactive, highly strategic, and absolutely essential to the war. From an early age, he had to live under the weight of constant accusations about his true parentage. But instead of letting the rumors of his bastardy define him, Jace used them as motivation. Even as a young boy, he displayed astonishing political maturity. While many doubted his abilities, he traveled across Westeros as his mother's envoy and personally secured some of the most crucial and iconic alliances of the entire Dance of the Dragons. And diplomacy wasn't the only area where he excelled. During one of the darkest moments for the Blacks, when Rhaenyra was completely paralyzed by personal tragedy, it was Jacaerys who stepped up and held the faction together. More than that, he was the one who came up with one of the boldest and most dangerous strategies of the entire war involving the dragons, a decision that would permanently change the balance of power in Westeros. Many historians within George R.R. Martin's universe consider Jacaerys to have possessed the rare qualities of a future king: diplomacy, leadership, courage, and flawless political judgment. Among readers, there's a strong consensus that the show made a mistake by downplaying one of House Targaryen's most promising heirs. From the time he was a child, Jacaerys grew up beneath a heavy shadow, the constant whispers about his true parentage. If you pay attention to the details, his dark hair and the unmistakable features that closely resemble a certain knight from House Strong, it's easy to understand why so many nobles questioned whether he was truly Laenor Velaryon's son. To Rhaenyra's enemies, this was the perfect political weapon. The hostility became so intense that a cruel theory began spreading throughout the royal court. The dragon egg placed in Jace's cradle would never hatch. In their minds, the boy simply didn't have enough Valyrian blood to awaken the magic of dragons. But Westeros was about to receive an undeniable answer. The egg didn't just hatch, it gave birth to Vermax. It was a crushing blow to the opposition. The birth of the dragon became definitive proof that, regardless of the rumors surrounding his biological father, the blood and magic of the ancient lords of Valyria truly flowed through Jacaerys' veins. After all, bonding with a dragon from the cradle is an honor reserved for only a select few. When the Dance of the Dragons finally erupted, time was working against Rhaenyra. She needed allies, and she needed them fast if she stood any chance against the Greens. It was in this desperate moment that her two eldest sons volunteered to serve as envoys, soaring across the skies of Westeros to deliver their mother's messages. At first glance, and even in the show, it might seem as though Jacaerys and Lucerys were given missions of equal difficulty. But if you look at the map and the political landscape of Westeros, the reality was very different. The responsibility placed on Jace's shoulders was infinitely greater. The original plan gave Lucerys the easy assignment: a short flight to Storm's End to negotiate with House Baratheon, a family that already had blood ties and long-standing promises to Rhaenyra. Jacaerys, on the other hand, Jacaerys was handed the most dangerous, exhausting, and vital route of the entire war. His mission was to secure the Eyrie in the Vale of Arryn, deal with the Lords of the Three Sisters, negotiate in White Harbor, and above all else, win over the North and secure House Stark's loyalty. He had to face seasoned and battle-hardened rulers such as Lady Jane Arryn and Lord Desmond Manderly, each with their own demands and suspicions. And perhaps most impressive of all, Jace was only 14 years old. It was a mission that required flawless diplomacy, razor-sharp intelligence, and a level of maturity far beyond his years. One wrong word could have left Rhaenyra without an army, but the young prince didn't disappoint. Instead of demanding submission through fear of his dragon Vermax or relying solely solely on the Targaryen name, he listened to their concerns, negotiated practical agreements, and earned these lords genuine respect. He didn't simply gain allies, he forged lasting loyalty. That's exactly why so many Fire and Blood readers are frustrated with the show's adaptation. This part of the story shows Jacaerys not merely as an heir on paper, but as a ruler truly ready to sit upon the Iron Throne. He proved he could win over an entire continent through diplomacy, not just dragonfire. And what he accomplished in the north would change the history of his house forever. Lucerys Velaryon's death at the hands of Aemon Targaryen and Vhagar above Storm's End wasn't just a family tragedy. It was the point of no return, the moment that transformed a political dispute into a brutal, irreversible war. And the impact it had on Dragonstone was devastating. Rhaenyra was completely crushed by grief. Consumed by sorrow and an overwhelming thirst for revenge, the queen became paralyzed, unable to lead her forces when they needed her guidance the most. In practical terms, the Blacks had lost the pillar holding their entire faction together. And it was in the middle of that absolute chaos that Jacaerys stepped into a role that would forever change how the Lords of Westeros saw him. Even after losing his own brother in such a brutal way, and at only 14 or 15 years old, Jace swallowed his grief. He stopped being just the young heir and became the heart and mind of the Blacks. While many around the War Council acted impulsively, driven purely by anger, Jace brought order. He kept their allies united, took the lead in strategic decision-making, and shouldered enormous responsibilities that under any other circumstances would have fallen to commanders with decades of battlefield experience. This is one of the character's greatest strengths in Fire and Blood, and unfortunately, it's something the show largely left out. His remarkable emotional intelligence and ability to lead under immense pressure. Jacaerys displayed an extraordinary level of composure, focusing on the future of the Blacks instead of drowning in the tragedy of the present. For many readers, this is the exact moment when Jace proves beyond any doubt that he had everything it took to sit the Iron Throne. He kept the war effort standing when Rhaenyra herself could barely stand. It's hard not to feel that House Targaryen lost one of its most capable future rulers long before he ever reached his full potential. But all of Jacaerys' political achievements ultimately lead to the terrible and inevitable beginning of the Battle of the Gullet, and this is where the weight of the prince's choices reaches its peak, delivering one of the saddest and most heartbreaking moments of the new episode. The tragedy becomes even more devastating when we remember what happened just before the battle began. Wounded and driven purely by instinct, Rhaenyra was prepared to fight on the front lines, fully accepting the risks of entering the battle herself. But Jace, fully embracing his responsibilities as heir, made an unimaginable decision. He threatened his own mother's Kingsguard, forcing the man to betray his queen by placing her under arrest for one reason and one reason only: to stop her from flying into certain danger. Jace took the burden upon himself. He put the target on his own back and flew to war in her place. And the show showed no mercy. The writers chose to adapt the cruelest and most visceral version described in the source material to bring this tragic partnership to its end. During the naval battle, amid complete chaos, with ships burning all around them, the unthinkable happens. Vermax is fatally struck in the belly by a massive bolt fired from the Triarchy fleet's Scorpions. It's a heartbreaking scene that captures the dragon's pure desperation as he repeatedly tries to bite and tear the bolt from his own body, desperately struggling to reach the wound, but he simply can't. Unable to stay airborne and losing altitude fast, Vermax begins plummeting toward the sea. In those terrifying seconds, everything happens at once. Tangled in his saddle harness, Jace realizes he'll be dragged beneath the waves along with his dragon unless he acts immediately. In one desperate effort, he cuts himself free just moments before Vermax disappears beneath the surface. As his dragon is swallowed by the sea, Jace fights against the current, swimming with everything he has until he finally reaches the surface. Against all odds, he survives the fall and escapes alive. But as we all know in George R.R. Martin's world, hope never lasts for long. Remaining faithful to the ruthless spirit of the original story, the moment Jace breaks through the crashing waves, gasping for air, relief instantly turns into horror. He is immediately struck by a rain of enemy arrows, meeting his tragic end there in the middle of the sea. Jacaerys Velarion's sacrifice isn't just the loss of a brilliant prince, it's the true turning point of the Dance of the Dragons. It's the event that promises to erase whatever mercy remained in Rhaenyra's heart and harden her for the battles yet to come. But Jace's tragedy also leaves behind an important lesson about dragons themselves. Not even they are invincible. Just as Rhaegal fell to Euron Greyjoy's scorpions, Vermax was also brought down by weapons specifically designed to kill creatures once believed to be unstoppable. In Westeros, size and power have never guaranteed survival. And perhaps Jace's greatest achievement came when he recognized what no one else wanted to see, an enormous waste of power. While the Greens continued gaining ground, the Blacks had several massive dragons sitting idle on Dragonstone. The sowing of the dragon seeds was a bold move, and to many, an incredibly dangerous one. But Jace was the one with the courage to recruit Valyrian bastards to claim dragons like Vermithor, Silverwing, and Sea Smoke. With a single decision, he transformed riderless dragons into the greatest military deterrent on the entire continent. But Jace's vision extended far beyond the aerial war. He understood the political geography of Westeros better than almost anyone, the Pact of Ice and Fire. When he flew to Winterfell, he didn't just ask for help, he secured Cregan Stark's lasting loyalty. It was Jace who brokered the agreement that brought the Winter Wolves south, one of the most brutal and relentless ground forces the South had ever seen. Masterful diplomacy, even before reaching the north, he had already secured the Vale through Lady Jean Arryn and White Harbor through House Manderley. His diplomatic missions were executed with surgical precision, strategically surrounding the Greens while securing the supply routes that kept his mother's cause alive. A vision for the future. Even under immense pressure, Jace never lost sight of preserving the dynasty. By sending his younger brothers, Aegon and Viserys, to safety in Essos, he proved that his greatest concern wasn't simply winning the crown, it was ensuring the survival of House Targaryen itself. When we look at everything Jacaerys accomplished at just 14 years old, the conclusion is bittersweet. He wasn't merely Rhaenyra's heir, he was the balance, the diplomacy, and the strategic mind that Westeros desperately needed. His premature death wasn't simply the loss of a prince, it was the loss of the kingdom's last real chance at a stable transition of power. Jacaerys Velaryon may never have lived long enough to sit upon the Iron Throne, but through every alliance he forged and every decision he made, he proved that, in spirit, he was the king Westeros perhaps never had. So what did you think of this analysis of Jace? Do you also believe he was one of the most underrated and underutilized characters in House of the Dragon? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel because we've got plenty more analyses, theories, and fascinating details about Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon coming your way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.